So the bike decided it doesn't want to run correctly again. The power started cutting out on my ride to and from work a couple days in a row. At one point, I lost combustion for about 3 seconds on the highway. This is reminiscent of an issue I had a couple years ago where my negative battery cable went bad. So, in order to reach that and get everything disconnected and checked properly, I have pulled my entire fuse box and computer. That might not have been entirely necessary, but I still wanted to check all of these connections and make sure they looked good. Everything looks properly sealed. None of these little connections look all screwy. This is just unused on my bike. Same with this. But all of the other connections appear to be all right. I've also got some corrosion up in there on my spark plug, so maybe I need to change those as well. So my plan for now is I'm going to replace my plugs and both my battery cables, both my positive and my negative. And this is where the positive connects. It just sort of wraps up through the battery box right here. This is where the battery box would go. Then the negative cable has one connection there and one connection down right there. See that little silver spot where my finger's wiggling at? It's tucked behind the ABS module, and I'm not 100% sure what this is. Maybe it's my starter motor. I suspect it's something to do with my starter. Maybe the starter motor, I'm not 100% sure. But all that's pulled. That's all this mess over here. I've got the battery pulled, of course. I've got my cables. There's, like I said, positive cable, negative cable. And then in here, I've got, of course, this is my fuse box. I'm not sure what this computer here is. I think this is actually the main computer, and I may have mislabeled some switches. I think this might be my main computer. This is my security module. It tucks up in here somehow. This is my coil pack that I pulled off. My fuel pack. It's run pretty well. It enables you to check your codes via Bluetooth. Vance & Hines sponsor me or something. I don't know. You probably won't even see this. Got all my hardware bagged up and labeled for when I put it all back together. So now I just gotta order these and some spark plugs, put everything back together, and hope it works. Honestly, this thing has broken down every summer for the last several years. Honestly, bought a house, and as soon as it was time to start recouping money from buying the house, this thing became a liability. So my current thinking is I'm going to just tear this thing apart a little bit. All of the finishes are kind of crap. Everything that's painted black, like this, looks like garbage. Look at this wear. The tank is all scratched up. You can't tell under here, but it's not nice. This fairing came from Saddleman. It's no fault of that, but I never painted over the original primer finish, and it's starting to crack up, right? This, not bad. These, not bad. I might leave these alone. That seems like a bit of a pain to paint. But everything else I can pull off. I can pull off that front mudguard, the fairing, the tank, the rear tail piece, whatever it's called, and paint all of that. Even if I just rattle can and clear coat, it'll look better than it is now. But I suspect I could pay someone to do a decent job for not a terrible amount of money, you know? The more I looked at this thing, the more I realized some of the old wiring I've done was not in good enough shape for me to be willing to sell it privately. See this tear right here, this right here. It was running fine, but I have actually gotten some codes for this turn signal not working. But then every time I looked, it would work, but that explains it, this gunk right here. So And then I just have odds and gobs of extra wiring all zip tied together. That's probably why it's so messy and cramped in there. So since this is already not running, since I already don't get to ride this thing in the spring, I figured I might as well pop the whole front end off and make that wiring pretty and correct. I'm also going to pop off this tank and run some things more correctly from down here up to here. So I popped the seat back on just for storage, but I've got everything taken off that I'm going to take off except for this, because I have the throttle tube and summer throttle grip down in the basement. Don't feel like digging that out right now. I'll have to deal with this all later, because I also need to rebuild this master cylinder. The brake switch has been sticking on, which I've learned is a result of just the master cylinder needing a rebuild, needing a refresh. So I'm going to have to rebuild that. I did discover my air intake was loose. Both of these bolts loose. So this was just rattling a little bit. I should have known better. Ought to have been checking that on a regular basis. My spark plugs, I did pull these. I didn't take video of it, but they look old and crusty. And this one, surprise, surprise, that whole little connection sleeve right there just popped right off when I pulled that one to look at it. So that's probably an issue too. So I've tightened that air intake on that side and replaced the spark plugs. And like I said, there will be some tidying up of the wiring that I've done. I'm going to correct this rattly fairing mount. Tidy up the wiring that was up here, because that was just a mess. And probably do a little bit of painting, because this finish on this is starting to go. Probably paint that gauge cluster because it's starting to go. And yeah, so I got some work to do. Probably replace those with something a little bit smaller so they don't put as much stress on the fairing. I don't know, maybe not. It will all depend on if I think I'm going to keep this even longer or just fix it up satisfactorily enough to sell, because all of the work that you do, all the custom work that you do, always does nothing for resale value. So, you know, I'll put some turn signals I like on there. The next guy, if I sell this, is going to look at those and be like, ew, and want different turn signals. So why do that? I'll just let him do that anyway, instead of spending my own money. We'll find out. We'll figure it out. But that's where we're at. Now it's time to put all of this crap away and plug up every single exposed terminal with dielectric grease so that it doesn't corrode in the meantime. And I'll pop the cover on so it's not ugly for the neighbors.